OTD. My name is Adam Arduna. This is my mom Gina, and today we are going to go ahead and do our Super Bowl 50 follow-up, wrap-up, reanalysis, if you will, over what was a decent game, if you want to go, and label it as a game, but Super Bowl 50.
Well, if it wasn't a game, what was it?
Well, it was a contest, if anything else. I don't know.
Entertainment spectacle.
Yeah, it was. Okay. It was okay.
It was an entertainment spectacle with a game in the middle of it.
Yes. We've got a lot to go with that.
Well, to be clear, we're sitting outside on the deck, and it's cold out here.
It is cold, and we are in February, and so it's chilly out here. Honestly, it is a little bit crazy because we don't have snow, and we're so used to having so much snow in the Midwest that right now it's like, well, we just need to take advantage of being outside. So we are on the deck. And
hanging out.
We are going to be talking about Super Bowl 50.
Okay, well, we got to go back because we made some predictions.
We did make some predictions, and I picked the Carolina Panthers to win.
I didn't. Okay, yes, I did.
I'm about to say, yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I also picked the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
But let me say this. Our keys to the game, I think we're both right.
Yes.
Your key to the game were the receivers, make sure you didn't have drops either side of the ball. My keys to the game were the defense, and specifically the Denver Bronco defense.
Right.
So we basically broke the game down correctly with the exception of who was going to come out victorious.
Absolutely. And on top of that, this was kind of our worst case scenario as far as our predictions and fandom. We wanted to be either Peyton Manning versus Carson Palmer or Cam Newton versus Tom Brady. And what we got was Cam Newton and Peyton Manning, and so that was really hard.
Well, let's be clear. Nobody wants to root against Peyton Manning. No, we certainly didn't.
Right, exactly. And because of how well Cam had been doing all year, and the stuff that he had been, putting out there, it was hard to root against him as well. And so we didn't really want to see those two go out. I mean, as cool as it could be, it was tough.
The game is always better when you can just really go all in for one team.
Right.
I
sell out for a team. Exactly.
And better yet, sell out against a team. I don't like the New England Patriots. That's just what it is.
Right.
But what I do, but by the way, they're great people on that team. I specifically don't like Tom Brady. So any chance that we can get to root against Tom Brady is a good day. You just put all your energy into it. Makes you feel like you're a part of the game.
Exactly.
When you got two great quarterbacks that you like and you respect and want to see both do well, you're like,
yeah, you just hope that the game isn't a blowout either way.
Right.
And so it really wasn't a blowout either way. It was actually a pretty tight game for most of the game,
until the
to
fourth
be honest.
quarter,
And it was about until 4 or 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter is where Denver took another touchdown lead, and then they were up by 14 points.
The infamous fumble.
And Cam Newton just wasn't able to come back, like we kind of thought he would, and they ended up actually just kind of getting exposed, which was a little bit interesting because we thought that, Carolina's offense would be able to really light up the scoreboard. At least I thought I did with my prediction. And I think a lot of people kind of thought Cam Newton was going to be able to go out and put up points, and it just didn't really happen. And so, yeah, it just goes to, what happened for the defense.
Well, the question for me, which I think a lot of people have asked, is was this really Cam not showing up, or was this Denver showing out? I believe it was Denver showing out. I think Cam was a little bit, I don't want to say shocked because I don't want to speak for him. He's just amazing. So I don't want to speak for Cam Newton. What I do want to say is that Denver defense put on an electric fireworks show. We talked about what they did against the Patriots. We said, we think Tom Brady's release is like 1.6 or 1.4 seconds.
Yeah,
when he's hitting Edelman or Amendola across the middle, he's got a quick release. Denver knocked him down or sacked him 23 times.
Yes.
So that means they're getting there quicker than 1.4 seconds.
Right.
And I think that that's what happened again. If you watch the game, it's not that Cam isn't amazing or couldn't do things with his feet. They were in his mouth every time he turned around.
It's true. That O-line for Carolina just got overwhelmed, and they just really weren't ready for what Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware had for them. It was. That front seven for Denver really showed up, and I just really felt like the defense was just that much better than the offense, at least on that day for Carolina. They just didn't quite have it in the tank. Unlike Denver's defense, where they just were full go, they pinned their ears back and just went 100 miles an hour, and they got to Cam. Like you said, they were in his face, and he just never really had a chance to really do what he wanted to do.
Okay, well, I have to ask you this. Do you think that the offensive coordinator for Carolina bears any responsibility, because a lot of people, post-mortem have been talking about the fact that Cam should have gotten some read option plays.
Sure.
They should have let him roll out. I mean, the man can throw the ball. He can throw it whether he's standing in the pocket or running. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say that there were some play calls that I think the O coordinator for Carolina could have, maybe called differently. I think there were some opportunities that they could have given Cam the ball a little bit more and said, hey, we're going to really let you take this drive and, see if you can put some points up. Not to say, oh, he had to do it all by himself, but it would have been nice to have seen, hey, more play calls with him, kind of just, hey, put the ball under your arm and run north and south and see what you can get. Put some pressure on those guys because their DMs were flying up the football field. And so every time Cam went to drop back, they were right there. And so I think, they could have called some calls for him where he could have, maybe just run the football up, quarterback draws or some, quarterback power plays and, so maybe some more read options. And I just think they kind of missed on some of those. But I think overall, I don't know how much it would have mattered. I think the defense for the Broncos really just had their number. There were some players for the Broncos defense that said, we had prepared for this all for the full 2 weeks, and we expected them to do some other things, and they did exactly what we had prepared for. So back to your point with the old coordinator's play calls, I don't know really what he was thinking or what his thought process was going into that game, but the Denver defense was just prepared for him.
Well, we've said lots of times, luck favors the prepared. I think the prepared favors the prepared.
Sure.
Bum Phillips is Wade Phillips' dad, former. He passed away. He was the head coach of the Houston Oilers. You all know I love the Houston Oilers. Now they're the Texans. But you look at a man who was ready to go, and his team was ready to go. You just, there's nothing you do. And another thing I was going to say, I understand not wanting to get Cam, diving up the middle, the first, half of the game. You've got 4 quarters to play. But I'm telling you, I was sitting on bated breath waiting in the 4th quarter for the Cam show. I just think we all were waiting to just see that amazing dynamic specimen that is Cam Newton take over. And for some reason, that just didn't happen. And I don't want to discredit the defense. It didn't happen because they weren't letting it happen.
Right.
But I just felt like we were all just waiting to see Cam do this miracle Camness.
Right, and because he had been doing it all year, all season. Yeah, exactly. And I was highly surprised that, there just weren't more opportunities for him to do that. And, again, it could be just because the offensive coordinator maybe just wasn't calling the right, plays for him. But I think, like we've just been saying, I think the defense for Denver just had their number regardless. I think, not to be like this, but I think there was a lot of problems with the field. The traction.
Yes, don't skip that.
There was a play where left tackle Michael Orr, we all know who he is from the blind side. That's a real story for him. There was a play where DeMarcus Ware was coming up the field, and he literally, Michael Orr, he planted his feet to try to block DeMarcus Ware, and he slid back 5 yards as DeMarcus Ware engaged with him. They both slid back 5 yards. You can see it on film.
Go back and watch the film.
You can watch it. The field was really bad, and so everyone knows with football, it's about traction and being able to run cleanly.
Put your foot
and
in the ground.
I think it was playing to the advantage of the Bronco defense there that, hey, we can just really pin our ears back and go get them. They can't.
And
we're faster than them now.
And that wasn't the only person who slipped.
Right,
Listen, I'm not blaming the game.
No,
Denver won the game.
not. Sure.
But if you go back and look, there's a million different things that happened in the game, and that was a slick field.
And you could, everybody was slipping. The Denver people were slipping.
Everybody
was falling down. So it just really, it was a tough, thing to kind of have to deal with. But that was, I think, something that played really well into the defense for the Broncos. And so, that really helped them in that regard. But
so how would you rate this game? I know, like a lot of people, I would say that the Super Bowl halftime was a 6.
Sure.
I'd say the commercials overall about a 7. I think the game itself 7. The Denver defense 10s across the board. They were the star of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would say that the game overall was about a 7 as a maximum because there wasn't a lot of scoring. You had a lot of field goals. But I guess you just have to credit both defenses for corralling the offenses and not, letting the scoreboard get lit up like that. I think as far as the commercials go, I think those are about a 6. I was not a huge fan of the commercials. And I know the last couple of years have kind of been downer years with, you know, kind of depressing, kind of, you know, message
They kept trying to make you cry.
Yeah, and so, you know, this year they kind of tried to do a little bit better, but overall I think they were about a 6. I think the halftime show was a 7 just because of Bruno Mars and because of Beyonce. And then overall the game I think was also a 7. So, you know, with that, that's not terrible, but it's not what we were kind of expecting as far as the overall performance for the whole night and for the whole event. Because the Super Bowl is an event.
But you got to rate that Denver defense.
Oh, the Denver defense was a 10. It was a 10. Yeah, and I would say the Carolina defense was a 9.
I agree with that.
I don't think they underperformed at all. I think they played as well as you could have, well enough to even win the Super Bowl. It just came down to, you know, a couple more plays and, you know, whoever had the ball last, kind of, and just whoever, you know, scored the most points at the end of the game. So,
well, congratulations, Denver.
Yeah,
congratulations,
you know, they're Super Bowl
Peyton.
champions. Congratulations, Peyton, exactly, and
Von Miller.
Yeah, Super Bowl MVP. You can't discredit any of those guys, and they deserved it, and it was fun to be able to witness the sheriff, as they call Peyton, go out, and we'll see what happens with that coming up in the future with his retirement plans, or if he decides to come back. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. All right, that was pretty good too.
How much
That was
over
pretty
did we
good.
go?
Probably about a